Add the NIL, you said. This game ain't real without the NIL deal. College football does NIL, you said. What does my mama always say? Be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. What up, though? Man, look, you already know what type of time we on, man. Listen, we got to talk about this NIL deal and how they added it to College Football 27. Like, look, we've already, in my previous video, we went over that. If you haven't seen that, man, go ahead and check that out. You know what I'm saying? You can find that. I'm going to put it in the link in the description below. So you can go ahead and pull up on that one time for the one time. But look, when we talking about this NIL, this is the element that we felt like the game was missing. And now it's in here. So without further ado, I ain't here to yap. Let's get it right cracking. You already know what I got. Handy dandy note sheet. So we can go ahead and start from here. But first things first, man. We got to talk about just the NIL and how it overall understands a little bit how they split it into a couple few elements. Now, we already know when I talked about my previous video that there was 3 major elements to this. And NIL is the final element that we were talking about. So this is one of the major areas for your dynasty rebuild and for your dynasty blueprint. And so when we talk about that, NIL is split into 2 parts. The first part is the recruiting NIL, and the second part is the roster NIL. Now, the recruiting NIL, this is what you need for talent acquisition. You need this to keep talent, to bring talent in. This is one of the pillars, obviously, when it comes to the pipelines, your coach's abilities and things like that. All these things are going to play a factor, but at the end of the day, depending on what star this individual, this recruit is, this prospect, that's what's going to really drive home what the NIL is and what position they play. So that's what's going to help you get certain talent. And then with the roster NIL, which is a whole different beast within itself, this is how you keep your roster together. So when you have certain players that perform well, i.e. doing great, and certain position groups and they're balling, then just know you're going to have to pay to keep those guys home. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's just what this is. So that's the 2 elements you deal with when it comes to NIL. You're going to deal with your roster NIL, and then you're going to deal with your recruiting NIL. And this isn't 2 different points systems. This is still pulling from the same pool of your dynasty points. So you still got to manage all of this on top of your facilities that we talked about and everything else. So buckle up, man. We finna go on this ride. So when it comes to NIL, we got to deal with what? Any player, we got to deal with expectations, right? And so with the expectations, these expectations is what drives what they're going to be asking for. What's the asking price going to be, right? So it's going to be dependent on your school, and it's also going to be depending on what you have to offer compared to what you don't have to offer, right? So what does that mean? That's like if a player wants to come to Michigan, I may have to only pay 120 NIL points compared to if that Ball State is going after that same player, then Ball State is going to have to pay 360 NIL points, because that's a place he definitely don't want to go, because it's just a difference in caliber of school. So since you're a lesser caliber school, you got to pay more. That's what we talk about when we talk about NIL expectations. And what drives that? For your recruits, what drives it is their star rating, their position, their deal breaker, and your team prestige. So if your team is buns and you don't have a lot of stars, just know the asking price gonna go up. So what my man say? Yesterday's prices is not today's prices. That's what you're gonna deal with. And then also it depends on the premium positions. So often your high expectations come from these premier positions. So like, your wide receivers, your quarterbacks, stuff like that. These are the positions you're gonna pay a little bit more for, i.e. your DNs, possibly your corners, any position that we consider high visibility and high skill set. That's the ones that's gonna probably cost a little bit more. So you got to prepare for that. And then on top of that, Still got to deal with your roster players. Now, when we're dealing with our roster players, it's a total different ball game. The roster players are going to go off the expectations of their overall rating, the position, the school year, the awards they've won, the awards they won, meaning if you gas this one guy up and he wins a ton of awards, just know you're going to pay at the end of the season. That's just what it is. And then you got their deal breakers also still matter, the team prestige, and what you have offered them in the past. So if you offered them 100 NIL points in the past and they have a good year, well, now they're going to want to bump it up. And if you don't bump it up and you don't come higher, than what you did with the points before, then just know that they're going to want to leave because you're not matching that NIL expectation, right? A younger player who develops into one of the best players on the team, just know you're going to end up paying more because he's a freshman or a sophomore, and you want him to stay, obviously, for the duration of the time, so you're going to have to pay for that individual to stay. And like I told you, a player who wins major awards, i.e. the Heisman, things like that, you're going to pay more for those guys to stay home. And then if a player is the face of the program, so this by them putting this in here means that we'll definitely be able to know that a player is the face of the program. But if the player is the face of the program, they're also going to be expecting to be paid more because of that brand deal. So, man, we got a lot to deal with when it comes to these players. We're really finna get the experience we've been asking for as far as wanting to feel like real college football, because when you use certain players and you make these individuals elite and then they become the top player of your team, well, now with this NIL expectation and NIL deal, you're going to have to pay to keep them on the roster. And I had to talk about this because I didn't want to miss this, but this is the brand exposure. And like I know before, we never really paid attention to the brand exposure. It's like, okay, it's an A+ or whatever it was. And if somebody was deal breaker was brand exposure, you felt pretty good if you had a big name school because the number really didn't fluctuate, it didn't change, right? Well, not so much now. So with brand exposure now, if you have a prospect that's their deal breaker, then that basically means they want NIL deal opportunities. So, and that's what they're looking for. So this can increase your chances of getting somebody, but then the same token, this is what you're going to need for those individuals. And it applies to both recruiting and for your roster retention. So it's just not to get somebody in. It's also going to be to keep somebody on your roster. So this is going to be very, very important about the brand exposure when you're dealing with prospects that's their thing. Just know that you're going to have to give them NIL deal opportunities, which means they're going to be looking to increase their money and their worth, right? So just saying that. And again, hear what I'm saying. These expectations are not static. And what do I mean by that? That means they fluctuate. So however they may be doing or whatever's going on, that's going to fluctuate. So just be prepared for that. Yesterday's prices, again, is not today's prices. I'm just saying that so we can all understand that. Now, we all got used to a certain way of doing things with the old dynasty. Well, now we got something new. So scouting before spending is what this is called. And the reason why that is because this game is not the same. So we know in the preseason before, we would do what? We would go in there, scout somebody, see if they were good, send them an offer. Scout somebody, see if they was good, send them an offer, right? Give them a scholarship. You can't do that anymore. Reason why? They took that out, basically. You're able to go in there and scout to see what you have, but the reason why you can't offer them anymore is because now these individuals are looking for NIL deals. They want NIL deal opportunity, and so with your scholarships are attached is the NIL deals that they may need for those individuals. So you're going to have to be very, very careful to make sure that whoever you want is a good fit for you for one, and then you're not spending too much for two, because again, every school's bonus points and what they get for their dynasty points is not the same. It fluctuates. Even if you're said a Michigan and you're in Alabama, them numbers still won't be the same. You're like, well, we're both top tier schools. Yeah, I hear you, but the numbers will be different. And it just depends on the season that you had and things of that nature. So just know that that's the thing, right? And then you also still have to deal with this. I just said earlier about when you're dealing with a recruit, and as you can see this individual right here, right? He is a 5-star corner, and as you can see with UCLA, they only want 140 dynasty points for him. That's what he's asking for him to go there. Hey, give me 140, and I will gladly come to UCLA. But then on the same token, you see Ball State is literally going after the same exact player, but they're a smaller school that don't have the same opportunities. So for him to go there, you see what he asking for, 385 points. So that tells you what? Every single prospect, depending on who reaches out to them, that NIL deal is going to change. It's going to fluctuate. And you got to be very careful and understand what that is. Like, so if you see an individual, a school that may be beating you out, don't be so quick to try to throw the house at it, because that's going to hurt you. And we're going to talk about that later. But you definitely need to pay attention to what schools are going after them, what's the leads you have. And now you see how important it is to really try to meet expectations. Now, you can go above expectations if you choose to, which we'll speak about. But just know that depending on what school you have, it's really going to depend on the NIL deal expectations or what a recruit expects they should get. And again, this all changes depending on what level of player the recruit is, because it's a 5-star. That number can be totally different than a 4-star. And you got to understand it. And again, it's position driven. So if it's a wide receiver and you're looking for wide receivers, you may pay a little bit more than what it was if it was a lineman. And that's just what it is in real life. Like, yeah, so, I mean, and linemen do get paid. Don't get it twisted. But I'm just saying, on here, it's going to be more of your skill positions that's going to get a little bit more money. So, hey, man, we got a lot to consider and concern when it comes to this. Now that we talked about scouting before spending, now let's talk about some spending. Let's talk about making an offer. So when you make an offer to a recruit, right, it's going to pop up on there. You're going to see on the left-hand side, you're going to see what the recruit is expecting, right? And so whatever that is, you can either match or go under or go above. It depends on you. It depends on your points. It depends on how you want to run your system. This is all on you. There is no sweet way to do things. It just depends on how you want to do it. Now, as you're doing that, you can get a weekly bonus that'll either go up or go down. And that's just increase of interest or decrease in interest because of what you did. So if a person wants 70 points and you give them 100, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be an increase. Now, by how big, we don't know. But in the fact that you went up, it's going to be an increase. Now, if you go lower, it's going to decrease because obviously it's under what they expect. But now hold on, because I know what you're thinking. So basically, we're going to have to just constantly try to pay everybody. Not necessarily. So what you can also do is you can go under the expectation, but as you go under the expectation, you need to be winning in a few of those key elements. And what do I mean by key elements? You need to go ahead and at least have great coaching abilities that can make up ground for where you're losing with going under the NIL deal. You need to be able to have a good pipeline, because that's going to help you as well when you're trying to get some of these recruits. So all these things can work in your favor to where you're not just stuck trying to pay everybody out. If I got a good pipeline and I got good coaching abilities, and let's say I built my coaching staff up, then I may come up under that number that he may want. Like, say if he wants 70, I may drop a cool 60. But if I'm a 5-star pipeline and I have a great coach staff, I can still make up ground for that, right? But then in the same token, understand this. You can adjust your offers. And by adjusting your offers weekly, you can change it. Now, you have to understand, if you say 100, and then the following week you're like, I'm going to go ahead and give you a cool 90. Just know that that's decreasing the offer. So when you decrease the offer, his interest is going to decrease because you said one thing and you did another, right? So you have to be very, 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 very careful on how you're going to make some of these offers. And I mean, smart thing is, I would meet them depending on how bad I need that position. I can meet you at that offer. But if, like I said, if your pipeline, you got great coaching staff, then I'm probably going to go underneath your asking price just to see where I sit at. Now, you can also do this. If you're recruiting a guy and you seem like the only one that's interested in him, because we've seen that before where it's like just you ahead of everybody, then you can definitely come underneath the NIL deal, and it's not going to hurt you because you're the only one actively seeking to recruit this individual. So you know what I'm saying? You can lowball him because it's like, hey, bro, we the only one on your radar. So it is what it is at this point. So just know all these things is what's going to come into play, man. So like I said, we got a lot to do now when it comes to just this. We're not just playing the game. We got to really start writing things down to figure out how we're going to take care of this NIL deal and how we're going to retain rosters. And I almost forgot to mention, almost did. If you put money into those recruits, and let's say you win up 150 points on this recruit, okay, cool, you win and now you're in a recruiting battle, okay, but then you lose the recruiting battle, but you had 150 points out there. Don't worry, don't trip. The 150 points will be refunded. Now, the reason why I'm saying they will be refunded because as soon as you put NIL deal on players, that money is gone immediately. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So as soon as you say, I'm going to give you 100, 100's taken off your dynasty points. So just know that. But if that person recruits somewhere else and they don't recruit to you, then you get that money back. So you're still going to be budgeting your NIL deals and budgeting your money, but just know that you're not losing anything if they recruit or do something else. So with that, that's a good thing for us because it helps us out. Now, when it comes to transfers, we already know in real life why people transfer. It's for the money. Like Dion said, show me the money, right? It must be the money. Yeah, that's exactly why they're transferring. So they definitely put that in the game. So basically, when you're dealing with these guys, it's a short window that we're going to deal with transfers anyway. And then with that, you're going to have to show them the money, like period, point blank. Like you have to give them the bread or they're going to go somewhere else. So just know when dealing with your transfers, you're going to have to give them money. And in the same token, when you're dealing with transfers, you still have to be able to manage your money and manage your points to even get to that part of the season, which is toward the end, to where hopefully you have enough points left over to be able to offer these guys the money that they may be expecting or requesting. Because if you spend all your points during the recruiting phase, then you have no points left for the transfer phase, which means you're basically out of it. So it's really going to be constructing your roster to what you need it to be, and that's going to be the hardest part. And then but by doing so, you can track your recruiting NIL. And so there's a window, and there'll be a window where you can pop up and bring up, and you'll be able to see a summary of NIL by position groups. So you'll see what all the quarterbacks are getting, halfbacks, wide receivers, D-ends, D-tackles, your corners. You'll be able to see what you're paying out as a whole in those position groups, so you can get a kind of an idea of where a lot of your NIL deal money is going. And again, all these things, this isn't just a one-time thing. This is an annual fee that's coming out of your dynasty points. So you got to be very, very aware of how you're spreading this money around. And so that's what's going to happen. But then with your roster NIL, you have the same window that'll pop up, and it'll show you what you're doing and where your money's going. And it'll show you players' expectations. So when the player expectations come up for your roster NIL, you'll know if I need to pay this guy this, or basically this guy's going to leave. Basically, that's just what it's going to be at the end of the year. So if you feel like you need this individual, then you're going to pay this individual. But then in the same token, you have another individual who's going to be trying to increase his worth too. And so, but if this person isn't as effective as the first person, then clearly I wouldn't want to do that. But if you don't meet these guys at their expectations, just know that they're probably going to walk or they're going to go to the NFL draft. So it's as realistic as it can get, because that's what you're going to be dealing with. Now, let's just say, because we just talked about the roster NIL, let's just say some of your guys didn't have such a great season. And this is going to be reallocating your NIL. So you're going to have a conversation at the end of the season, and you're going to go through your roster. You're going to look like, you didn't play too well. I'm not going to pay you that. I'm not going to give you this. I'm not going to give you that. Basically, that's what you're going to do. And as you do that and you decrease what you're paying people, their meters are going to go up, whether they're going to stay or whether they're going to go. So that's just what you're going to deal with. And with some individuals, you feel like you may be out overpaying and you're not getting the performance that you would like. You can pull some of that money back and say, hey, this is what I'm finna give you for this year. And it is what it is. And 9 times out of 10, as I roll into the next one, that's going to increase your risk of leaving. And so they're basically going to be like, you know what? I'm not taking this. I'm going to take my talent somewhere else, right? And as they do that, it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll get picked up or somebody will meet their NIL deal, but it just means that you didn't meet their expectations, so they're going to leave. So this is what we're basically going to deal with at a unique level and trying to go through your complete roster. Now, everybody's not gonna have a NIL. That's the whole thing. Your whole roster is not gonna be NIL driven, but there's gonna be key players, obviously, i.e. your starters, maybe even some of your backups, or some of the guys you brought in if you're recruiting at a high level. This is where it can kind of get a little crazy, because now this is how you end up turning your roster over to where everybody needs to get money, and you may not have that coming towards you. So you're definitely going to have to manage what you need and get what you need. And then in the same token, get some good backup players to play some role players. This is what's going to be key for this one. You're going to need your role players, because you're not going to be able to just pay everybody, and depending on what school you pick. And if you're trying to do that rebuild from the beginning with these smaller schools, it's going to be hard in the yard, because I just told you what they're doing for players. That a 5-star player that sees Ball State going to be like, I need to get paid. And what their asking price might be your whole NIL deal experience. So all your bonus points might be gone. So you're going to have to be very careful with that. But you are able to track your roster and break it down to see what everything is and where your money's going. And so now you can get sort of like a little cheat sheet, so to speak, to where you can break down everything that you've done. And this will help you to where you can start managing everything. They've given us the experience that we've been asking for, because not only with what I said in the previous video about the coaching staff and how you break that down, and that's still deal that you got to deal with, and the salary and stuff like that. You still got to deal with the deal of the players. And all these is coming out of the same amount of money. Like, this is all coming from your dynasty points. So Michigan may have a high point, let's say, of 10,000, right? But of that 10,000, I might be, let's say, a cool 6,000 in the hole already, because of my turnover, my facility, my coaching staff, and my roster. So with that being said, I only have 4,000 for recruiting, and depending on how I do that, I may only end up with 500 for transfers. So I got to be very, very mindful of what I'm doing and who I'm paying. And if they're not working out, then I need to get rid of them. That's just what it is. When you put money into the game, that's exactly what happens. Either it's what you've done for me lately, or you got to go. And that's how you manage your roster, man. So I'm excited for this. But that is your NIL deal. Now, I ain't trying to drink from the Kool-Aid too early, but I can say this. EA is definitely Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen. Boy's cooking, man. I ain't gonna lie. This is an experience I'm excited to play. When I played the beta, I had fun. Like, the way that the beta played, if that's going to be the gameplay, I am excited for it, because it really made sense to me. Now, obviously, there's certain things they're going to tune up, they need to fix. Just small things. It wasn't nothing big and crazy for me, but others may have seen something different. But all in all, just the options you have, what they're doing, Dynasty mode, which I'm extremely excited about, because this just puts this whole feeling of just being a part of that world, that college football world, that atmosphere. It really brings it to fruition with just dealing with NIL deal, roster turnover, people stealing coaches. Like, we got a lot to deal with, and we got a lot to hold on to. So this here, I can't wait, especially with the league we're in. If you don't know, it'll be the PCL League. We definitely run that. I have a great time. Right now, I think we are at 26 users. So this dynasty is going to be crazy. You already know who I got. I got them boys. You know what I'm saying? You know who I'm playing with. But I'll be bringing videos about that, so y'all can stay tuned in for that, man. And with that being said, man, I appreciate every single person, man. And if you like the video and you enjoyed this content that I'm trying to give you a one-up, so you can know what's to come in a few weeks, man, to help your boy out, because I need it. All you got to do is smash the like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you have not, as it is only a thumb movement, and it helps me out tremendously. And there is no me without you. Also, if you didn't know, I will be live streaming. We're going to get it cracking, like, you know what I'm saying, because it is that time. So when I live stream, I'll be on YouTube and I'll be on Twitch, and it's going to be at 9 a.m. Get your popcorn ready. We going down. July 2nd is on. Hey, so just be there. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have a great time. I don't know how long I'm going to stream for. Depends on how the games go. Depends on how the chat is. And we just going to keep it cracking, man. Like good old cookout with the family, man. And if you don't know, check out what we do over there on Maize Out Mondays. My man Maize, man, my man Baniac, and my homie Lich. Hey, we out here giving you real content about Michigan and what they got going on. Rosters, players, coaching staff, whatever information we come up with. Interviews, we interviewing players. We've interviewed Tony Alford. We got real content out there for you, man. So if you into that, just pull up on us, man. The link will be in the description below, so you can hit that, man. And with that being said, I hope God continues to bless you and your family and keep you safe. And it's always go blue. And you already know what I'm finna say. If ain't nobody told you that they love you today, just know that Jesus loves you, man. Peace and love, and I'm gonna catch you on the next one.